Okay, this is Abby Denison, creator of Tough Love, High School Confidential. We're here at the New York Comiccon. How's it going, Abby?
It's going great. How are you?
Good, good. So I heard you were moderating a panel last night about women in comics. You want to talk about it?
Yeah, it was really fabulous. It was probably one of the best women in comics panels I've been on. But it had Heidi McDonald, aka The Beat. It had Becky Cloonan, awesome artist and writer, and it had Gail Simone, fabulous writer, and also Shelley Bond, editor of the Minx line for DC, and Jen Grunwald, Marvel editor who does the collections, and Karen Green, who is a Columbia University librarian, and she's in charge of the graphic novel collection there. And she also has been writing articles, so she's been getting into doing comic journalism. I think it's on Comixology. But a very interesting lineup of people, and they all had very interesting things to say, and it was like totally packed. So I think it was a very successful panel. We had a really good time. It was particularly interesting to hear Karen, because usually you don't hear like from university librarians on comics on panels, and she had a lot of good things to say. At one point, a guy in the audience asked about advice on writing, on him being a guy and writing female characters, and she recommended that he read Madame Bovary. So I thought that was great, because I think that totally wasn't within the realm of what most of the audience was reading, and I thought that was a good tip.
So along that line, do you think that women writers and creators, do you think it's more important for them to create more of a woman-friendly image, or is it better to tell stories and create things that are good for everybody?
I think probably the latter. I mean, I think that for men and women and everybody who are writing and creating, that they should take into account for good writing, you want to have well-rounded characters, and you want to have sympathetic characters. You don't want to have characters that fall into either stereotypical male or female, kind of template too much, because then you really don't have any personality going on. You just have the strong guy and the girly woman, and it's kind of like one of the panelists said last night, you don't want to have 10 female characters who are basically all the same but with different hairdos. So I think in general that it really doesn't matter what gender you are when you're writing, but you inform your work with your identity as much as you can. But the mark of a good writer is you should be able to write anything. So it's like you have, for instance, J.K. Rowling. I mean, she's not a boy wizard as far as I know, but everybody loves her stories about boy wizards, and no one's ever called her out on not being a boy wizard. I mean, an example of like a reverse situation, Love and Rockets. I think those are some of the most insightful stories and with female characters that are out there, and I know the brothers Hernandez are not women, so it really is about skill.
Yes, now I know that in your book, Tough Love, High School Confidential, you deal a lot with like the young adult, gay, lesbian genre. Can you go into that a little bit?
Hello. Sure. Tough Love is about a gay teen coming out in high school and his kung fu fighting boyfriend. So it's not 100% realistic, but it's a little bit more of a soap opera romance, but it does tie into some realistic problems that kids deal with, like teen suicide, gay bashing, all that stuff is addressed. And my publisher very helpfully in the back of this book had put hotline numbers and support group numbers in the back for gay teens, because it's still a really hard time, for kids going through that. And that's one of the wonderful things about art, is that it isn't just a story. People can really get attached, and they really identify with the characters. And when it was parts of it were running in XY magazine, I'd actually receive suicide notes from kids who had read about when it hit the suicide part of my storyline. So of course it was shocking to me that was happening, but it also made me realize how important art is, and how kids who feel really alone can feel like you're talking to them directly, and they're reaching out in the dark for something. And you can, artists and writers can provide that and make them feel less alone in the world and really make a difference. And I think that's a really beautiful thing about it.
You also, you're into music a lot. Does that help shape, or does that give you ideas or inspirations?
Well, I'm definitely inspired by music, but and I've been a musician since I was 16 years old. But I'm a little bit on hiatus from music right now, because it's very time consuming, and I'm really trying to focus on doing comics right now, which is also really time consuming. So I'm trying to, I think eventually I kind of do phases, like where I'm in bands and not in bands. But I'm trying to kind of stick with the comic thing right now, and when I have more time, hopefully I get more into doing band stuff. But yeah, music, it definitely informs my work a lot. I think that like Publishers Weekly reviewed Tough Love, and they mentioned that it was like a anarchistic punk line work, I think was what they called it. And I think it's interesting because, you know, if you think punk has a lot of definitions, but most people often think of the music or the style, but there's also art, you know, and I think that you can definitely be informed musically with your art. Like, for instance, this comic Passing Notes, which collects some short stories I did in XY Magazine, which is a gay youth magazine. It's about musicians. It's about like a guy, and he's kind of like, he's a singer, and his mother kind of pushes him, more like in the musicals and things like that, to be like a professional singer and doing recitals. And he meets like a punk rock guy at his school, and, you know, finds himself attracted to him. And it's a very short, cute story, but it's kind of about how he wants to kind of get involved and, you know, jam with him. And it's like two different kinds of music in the world. So
you also were the recipient of the Lulu Award.
Yes.
Go into that a little bit.
I'm really proud to be Lulu of the Year 2007. I believe it was just in recognition of my hard work with Tough Love, and that had been like so long in coming, and very excited about it being out. You know, and Manic D, the publisher, helped me a lot and put this out, and I did a lot of touring and promoting for it, and it was like probably one of the best experiences of my life so far. And just to get the Lulu Award was like the cherry on top.
Yeah, especially for somebody in independent printing and publishing.
Yeah, well, I was totally shocked because Alison Bechdel was in the running for the same award, and, you know, her book Fun Home is like a stunning work of genius. Yeah, it's like a stunning work of genius. But then she has like sackfuls of awards at her house. I'm sure she, you know, wouldn't begrudge me this one.